Hi, we are here again for another lesson on Dear Mr. Kilmer. Okay, this lesson is also for the question and answer. So let's look at the question. The question is, based on the novel that you have studied, which character do you think deserves our sympathy? Briefly describe the character and give reasons for your choice with close reference to the text. Okay, so here you have to describe the character and then give reasons why do you think that he or she deserves your sympathy. Okay, as usual, the format, you have to have introduction where you have to mention the title of the novel you have studied, then the writer, and also a brief summary of the story. Then when you go to contents, you have contents 1, 2, and 3. So there are 3 paragraphs. So in the second paragraph, which is the first content, you have to briefly describe the character. And then the last paragraph, which is paragraph 5, you have the conclusion. Now let's look at the introduction. As usual, this is the introduction. The novel I have studied is Dear Mr. Kilmer by Anne Schraff. The book is about a farm boy living in Iowa. After reading Joyce Kilmer's poetry, Richard Knight began a correspondence with the soldier poet about his own writing, even as he worried about the war in Europe and the way people treated his German-American neighbor Hannah. So that's the first or the suggested introduction. So now we move on to the contents. Okay, Hannah is the one who deserves our or your sympathy. So remember to describe Hannah in the first content. So these are the reasons why you should sympathize or she deserves your sympathy. Reason 1, someone scribbled dirty hand on her book and she was discriminated for being a German. Reason 2, her parents' tavern was vandalized. She became very sad and she was absent from school on the day of the incident. And reason 3, she had to decline the role of Lady Liberty because people complained to the principal and the students also disagreed. Let's look at content 1, which is paragraph 2. The character that we should sympathize with is Hannah. She was 15 years old and she was of German parentage, and her parents had lived in Turtle Lake, Iowa for years. They owned a tavern, Perry House. In school, as Richard was leaving, he saw Hannah Schirmer crying alone. He saw someone had scribbled the words Dirty Hand on her book cover. He told his classmates what had happened. They felt that the Schirmers were not acceptable because they were originally from Germany. Hannah deserves our sympathy because she was discriminated by her classmates. The war started and America was fighting against Germany, so Hannah was targeted by the students. Hannah had a hard time in school. Content 2. One day, Mrs. Hanson, the English teacher, told her class that the tavern had been vandalized. Hannah did not turn up in school. Mrs. Hanson asked the students to sign a sympathy card for the Schirmers, but many students disagreed to do so. Richard was the only one who signed the card, and after school, he asked Mrs. Hanson whether he could deliver the card to the Schirmers in person. When he reached the tavern, he saw the words Dirty Hands painted on the walls and Hannah sitting outside looking upset. So this is a very sad incident for Hannah. Now, let's move on to content 3. Moreover, Mrs. Hanson announced that the class would be putting on a patriotic program to help sell Liberty bonds to help raise money for the war. A female student would be chosen to play Lady Liberty and a male to play the doughboy. They had to write an essay entitled How We Can Help the War Right Here in Turtle Lake. Hannah was chosen as Lady Liberty because she wrote about the real enemy was not Germany or other countries but war itself. The next day, many students and parents were angry about Hannah's selection as Lady Liberty. Hannah knew that the class was unhappy with the decision and she decided to decline the role as she did not wish to create a war in the town. We should sympathize with her because Hannah suffered from being discriminated although she had written a good essay. So, we have reached the conclusion. Let's look at the conclusion. The suggested conclusion is, in conclusion, in my opinion, Hannah Shermer deserved our sympathy or my sympathy as there were many incidents in the novel that discriminated her because of her race and made her sad. Well, we have reached the end of the lesson. I hope have learned how to write answers for the questions related to the novel Dear Mr. Kilmer. Thank you and do subscribe to my channel. Bye bye.